Okay, this is Nelty Campy, and we're on to the walk, trot, canter, senior equitation. And this is the pattern. We start at A, walk 2 horse lengths, trot left diagonal, halfway to B, pick up a canter on the right lead, canter around, simple lead change at C, continue the canter on, now they'd be on the left lead, stop, back, do a 180 turn on the haunches to the left, posting trot, right diagonal, square corner, and then on past B. So that is our pattern, and I'm going to be judging it from the bottom up. We had, I believe, 7 in this class. 3, 4, 5, 6, yep, 7. Okay. So starting out first, we have Ashley. Get her to the beginning here. Find her on my score sheet. Okay, we start off, our walk is good, +1 on the walk. It kind of looked like she glanced down, but I'm going to give her the benefit, so 0 on the trot. It was the correct diagonal, +0.5 on this canter. It's pretty nice. I like the lead change, so +1, +0.5 on this canter. Comes to the halt, the back, the horse gets a little crooked in the back, correct enough for me for a 0. Kind of backs around the turn on the haunches a little bit, but again, a 0. And then here we step off on the wrong diagonal. So I have to give a penalty 5 for that and -1 the maneuver score. She does correct it, so she avoids the penalty 10. And the rest of the pattern finishes well. And F and E of 3.5 plus this for this, and total penalty is -5. So our overall score is still a 70.5, still slightly above average. Without the penalty, it'd be mid-70s. That's the only reason that we ended up in 7th place here. Otherwise, the scores were pretty close. And then we are on to Rachel. Get her back to the beginning here. Okay. Steps off in the walk. I like the walk. +1 on the walk. No problem picking up the correct diagonal. +1. Good position. +1 on the canter. I like that this horse moves forward. A little fussy on the lead change, came up in the bridle, so I zeroed that. +1 on this canter though. We get a little sticky in the backup. It's correct enough for me for a 0, but I can't plus it. Then our turn on the haunches here. I think the horse just, he doesn't know, so she ends up walking around. I have to give him -2 for the maneuver score on that. But then we're back up to a +1 for this last trot here. Finishes well. Could be a little more square in the square corner, but I like this rider's overall position and presentation. The F and E was a 4, so we end up with an overall score of a 77, so that's good, definitely above average. I like the overall pace of this pattern, that she keeps moving and gets it done with a little better understanding for the horse of a turn on the haunches. She'd be at the top of the class. Okay, moving on. Rachel was my 6th place horse. This is my 5th place horse, and we have Elizabeth. Get her to the beginning, make her big. Could show a little more walk here. So I zeroed it. It's supposed to be 2 horse lengths. It's still correct. I like how she steps off, confident. Correct diagonal, +1, +0.5 on this canter, +0.5 on the lead change, +0.5 on this canter. I'd like to see this rider's posture be a little bit better. Kind of forward with her shoulders, great lower leg though. Good showman, but that's why I was at a +1/2 instead of a +1. Go back a little bit here. The back, a little resistance there, so I zeroed it. Same with the turn on the forehand, maybe just a slight loss of balance, but correct. I love how she trots off here. I'd like a little bit better posture in her shoulders, but still +1. I like the steadiness of her hands, good square corner, good finish. 4 for the F&E score and a total score of 77.5. So very close to the last rider, within a half point there. On to my 4th place, we have Bailey. Okay, I found her. Looks confident to start, +1/2 on this walk. Reins get a little drapey. I'm not sure what happens there. Maybe a little anticipation of like, it wasn't quite a stride, so I did -1/2 that. Good transition into the canter, +1 here. I'd like to see maybe a smidge shorter rein, but it doesn't offend me. 0 for the lead change, correct. +1/2 here, great lower leg, could use a little bit tighter rein. I like the back. +1 on the back. Good balance, turn on the haunches, +1. Steps off on the correct diagonal, has some forward motion, +1. Good posture, good lower leg. With a little bit more contact on the reins, I could score even higher here. F and E on this one, 3.5. If you smidge up those reins a little shorter, show me a little more communication and contact, I could easily be a 4, but your overall score is a 78. So still a good score, still a good 4th place run, still above average. Moving on to 3rd place, we have Allie. Get back to the beginning. I like the walk, +1. One thing that could make this better is your hands are kind of flat, your thumbs almost point at each other. I'd like you to rotate your hands a little bit so your thumbs are more up. They don't have to be up like showmanship candlesticks, but a little bit less flat than they are, and I could go even higher on your score. Let's get back here. Trots off, looking up, correct diagonal, +1 on this. Good canter transition, +1. Great lower leg. First comes up in the bridle a little bit on the lead change. Still correct enough for me for a 0. I zeroed this because the horse lost its attention a little bit in this canter versus the canter on the other lead. Decent backup, +1/2, above average. Could be slightly more correct, but correct enough for a 0. +1 on the trot, looking ahead, good hand and leg position there. Good corner. And good finish to the pattern. F&E is a 4, so we are at a 78.5. So really, I'm about only a half point apart on a lot of these placings. The margins are very small. Everybody's very close. So if this was a multi-judge situation, I'm sure these placings would be flip-flopped, which would be totally okay. Our 2nd place, we're going with Chelsea. Let's get to the beginning. Okay. I zeroed the walk. Could walk down a little bit better. Still correct. Great posture here. Picks up the diagonal, no problem, +1. Very smooth, +1 into the canter on the right lead. This rider rides with a lot of feel. +0.5 on the lead change. +1 there. The backup, because the horse got pushy to start with, it was a 0. Without that, it would have been higher. Correct balance, turn on the haunches here, +1. Steps off, picks up the correct diagonal. I love how this rider just looks ahead. Good flow to the pattern, nice quality horse. Nice job on this. Good finish. Bethany is a 4, gives us a 79.5. On to our first place here. First place we have Courtney. Good walk. I like this rider's posture, legs, hand position, confidence, +1 in the walk. +1.5 to trotting off. Great line here from elbow to bit. That's what bumps this up to a 1.5 versus just a 1. I think the top 2 riders in this class both had excellent feel, and this one really keeps an exceptional position. Into the canter, +1.5. Everything's just a degree more correct and precise, like how the pattern lays out. Nice lead change, +1.5. Horse, very steady top line all the way through here. +1.5 on the second canter. And a seamless backup, +2 on that. Here's the only trouble we have, not my ideal turn on the haunches. I did a -1 for that. Steps off into the trot here. Nice transition. This is just a great example here of just everything being in line. Great line here. Steady flow throughout the pattern. Great expression on the horse. Looks like I'd like to ride him. Good finish. Bethany was a 4. Total for the pattern was an 83.5. And that could have even kind of scored on the conservative side. After watching this again, that could have been a higher score. So good job, Courtney, on your first place, and excellent class across the board.